Hi, my name's Richard White. I am the MD of Onefeed. I'm going to take you through the setup process of the Onefeed platform today. Really start with the basics, and the main part of this really is to show you how to use the Shopify app to integrate into the Onefeed platform and basically do all the legwork for us. So there's a few elements to this really. So I'm going to go through the beginning of it. So talking about the Shopify integration, how we add the tracking, how we create the product feed. Then within the Onefeed system, I'm going to go through how we set up a master feed, how we import the data, using some rules, marking some top products, and then a partner feed, how we export to Google, and how we integrate everything, and how we set up tracking as well, which is obviously part of the Shopify app and the other apps we built as well. So really just getting up and running and just showing you the details of how we manage campaigns and how we manage the feeds as well. So really simple, and it's just purely just give you the starting point of where we go from here really. So let me minimize myself. So you've probably already created an account. If not, please go in here and create an account just here. So click on try now, you get a 30-day free trial. Add your details in here and get yourself signed up. So we don't need to do that today because you've probably done that already. Right, so we need to set up a Shopify app and import the data and work through it that way. So in here, we've created 4 different apps for all the different e-commerce platforms of the Shopify, e-commerce, BigCommerce, Magento, WooCommerce. So let's just do the Shopify app first of all. So this is our Shopify app installation screen here. So as you go into our test account here. So at the moment, there's no apps installed. So let's go ahead and install one. So let's install our one, go to install app. So it's just called Onefeed-test, if I can spell correctly. So normally it'd be whatever your store name is, .my Shopify. So you just put in that element there, whatever that might be. It might be like, I don't know, Bob's Bits, whatever. And then Onefeed-test. Okay, right, that's gonna integrate that way. It's going to ask for permission to install. Yep, install it. And this now has been installed. This is our summary screen of the app itself. Give you information about how we built it, what the next steps are. So before we do anything else, worry about the feed, let's just go and set up the tracking. So go to settings. At the moment, this isn't implemented, it's disconnected, which means it has no tracking installed on our test store. So at the moment, we've got an old ID in here. So let's go back to our test account. This is our test account here. So when you've created an account, we go into here, go straight away to tracking. So this one here is 505-1. So that is a unique SSID, which is unique to the test account. So if you've created an account, you better go in here, get your SSID, and then paste that into here. And leave that ticked, and just click on Save Settings. And this now will create a web pixel, and it will integrate 2 parts of our tracking. So once we've installed our web pixel here, this will install a landing page script. And so the script itself will pick up any tracking sources from things like Facebook or Google or Bing or whatever channels we want to track. So that's the first part of this. The second part, it installs a order confirmation page code. So when someone makes a purchase on your site, the code that sits on the receipt page will fire. It will send across information to us of someone's made a purchase, the ID was this. And the beauty of this here is that this tracking now actually integrates all of the basket level data. So instead of just seeing a conversion, we can actually see what items were purchased, how many items were in the basket, what the total basket value was, what the order number was, obviously what the order ID was within that. And also, more importantly as well, it also allows us to be able to track the unique user ID. So what that means is that each person, when they make a purchase on your website, we can see the repeat purchases from that individual. Obviously, we don't track any personal information. It's just purely the Shopify ID, which is attributed to that individual. And so the point of that really is we can build up a basket level data of that individual or people that are buying from your store. And so we can see the repeat purchase rate. We can see what the basket value is across all the different purchases they make. So really this gives a bit of a fuller picture of what's going on. And I suppose the point of our basket level data is we can actually use that data in our in the system to actually enable us to be able to integrate more information in terms of providing you with items that are being purchased that you maybe aren't getting clicks from Google though. So if you're getting loads of sales from another channel, we can see what's converting in that and then maybe use that in some of the ads in the feed and allow us to be able to implement some more product level bids on those items though. So we've got our app is now installed on the store. We can go back to our app and actually look at the details here. Go into the actual app itself. So let's go back to our app. So now we've got our tracking implemented. We need to actually look at the product feed. So at the moment, the feed itself, because I've been messing around with this earlier on, it's already been regenerated. So normally what would happen is every 6 hours, the feed automatically generates. You can do a CSV or an XML file, as you can see here. If you wanted to, you can regenerate it by clicking that button there. So if you just made loads of changes and you're not going to wait, let's say for example, it said 4 hours ago and you wanted to regenerate it now, you click on that regenerate and automatically upload it for you. Right, so the data here in these little windows here, these little panels, it shows you a bit of information about how many products you've got, how many out of stock, what's missing, images and pricing, and a bit of basics really. But ultimately, the app itself pulls out all the products from your feed, from your store, including the variants, and then we've set it up so it actually pulls through a hell of a lot of information into our product feed. So let's just go and get our static file, which is, I'm going to do the XML feed. So that is it there, and that's the URL, which just comes through regenerate. So that is the static file there. So let's close some of these windows down, so we don't need to keep them open anymore. Let's go back to our system here. This is the Onefeed Client Centre. If we go back to the home screen again, you'll be able to see that obviously there's nothing's been set up. There's no information here. Pretty much it's as sparse as it can be. We need to set up the master feed. So we'll just click on the master feed, and then we're going to go HTTP because it's on a URL. Going back to this here, so that's a URL, so that means HTTP. So there's a few options for this. You can pull it from, we can pull from FTP. We can look from an HTTP, which is basically a file on a URL. We can get a local file, which when you created an account, we gave you an FTP location. So if you upload it into an FTP location, we can pull it from there. There's a database view that's a bit more complicated, and that would be a kind of a more of a custom setup really. And we've got merchant feed, which actually comes directly from Google Merchant Centre. So we're not going to bother with that. So we're just going to go HTTP. Let's call it a test feed. We're going to paste our URL in there. There we go. So it's going to come from this building XML feed. Really straightforward. Done. Next. Right. So this is what the file actually looks like in the preview. Let's preview the whole thing. So it's the XML. Preview the whole lot. So as you can see, you've got the ID, Shopify ID, product ID, title. The usual stuff is all here. As you can see, you can scroll across, and this is all information we're pulling in the feed. The important stuff, obviously, is all there. Within the system, we can mark items which we call top products, and the top products allows you to be able to segment items into specific campaigns based on top product status. That's really quite sophisticated for a lot of customers because it just helps to, I suppose, pull out all the best sellers into a specific campaign and focus on them if you want to. So anyway, we'll touch on that in a bit later. So that's all good. So let's just save the settings for that. Let's import the data. That's done. So we'll go next. So the next stage is actually now we need to map up the source columns, basically what we're getting in our feed now, to our core list of columns we need to pull the information through. So only the top 6 here are mandatory. So you won't be able to go any further until you've mapped these up. So I tend to use the Shopify ID as what we uniquely identifying an item, because usually that incorporates the variant ID and also the parent ID of the item or the item group ID. So we'll put that there, Shopify ID, and we need to map that up to also to the unique ID. So those two needs to match. So title should be just there, title, price. There's price. Price is there. Link URL is that one there. Image URL, image URL, category. So we're going to use category as our obviously category. Condition, description, EAN. I don't think these are populated. It's normally GTIN, so that's that there. Manufacturer is brand normally. Maybe not. Manufacturer, there we go, manufacturer. Shipping is delivery cost from what I remember. It could be something different. It could be shipping cost. Shipping cost, there it is. SKU is MPN normally. Maybe we'll change it to SKU. Oh, so many different things in here. Right, and then we're going to stock. We're going to go to availability. Actually, it's in stock on this. In stock, there we go. Right, so we can go in and add more columns if we wanted to. We can change them. We could do lots of clever stuff with this. But that's the basics up and running. These are just pulling basic information from the feed. Right, click on next. So that's been set up now. This here is pulling the categories through from the feed and also your site and mapping them up to our own internal taxonomy. you don't have to do this necessarily though, but the purpose really is it allows the products to appear on our shopping website. And so without having them mapped to a category, they just probably won't appear on the shopping website, or they'll be sit in a random category somewhere, and we'll try and automatically match them. It isn't particularly easy. We do have suggestions in here. These will be AI suggestions in the not too distant future, but at the moment these are just based on the information we're providing or seeing here and looking at the actual text correlation. So accessories, I know because this store is actually a snowboarding store. These are just snowboarding accessories. So I go into sports equipment, extreme sports, snowboarding, and then we're going to put in snowboarding bindings. We don't really have a generic category for it, so we're going to put it in bindings. Gift cards, these are literally obviously gift cards, so they'll go into gifts and gadgets. So where's gift cards, gift vouchers, same thing. I know these are snowboards, so they are going to go into, no, we don't actually have snowboard as a suggestion. That's not very clever, is it? Snowboards, there we go, snowboards, done. Right, so that is now done. The mapping is finished, so the products all should have a categories that get pulled through. Right, so the other part of this now is rules. So we need to apply rules to this feed. So I want to do a number of things, but the first thing I want to do is for the in stock, or for stock should I say, I know that we have some out of stock products in here. So based on our thing here, so I know there's one missing an image and one that's out of stock. So I don't really want to send an out of stock product to Google. So our stock information is a true or false. So just on the app. So at the moment stock contains, so I'm going to put false. So I'm looking for anything that has a false information with stock, and I'm going to change to active. So active is what we class as import or export. Basically, do not import the item. So I'm going to say that basically the same thing as saying do not import this item. So active, set value no, which means that as we process the feed, it won't pull any false items that have full stock information. So that one there. I go to stock again, and I'm going to go and change true to in stock, because we can't have true in Google. Replace text true with in stock. Done. Save. So those are two basic rules at the moment. We do also have an item here that hasn't got an image. So there's a few ways of going about doing that though. I know we don't actually have an image stored for that product though. So ordinarily, to make life easier, to stop any issues in Google, I'm also going to not import that item. So image URL is null. So basically, is null means it's empty. So image URL is null. I'm going to not import that product either. So that's going to be no. So active, set value, no. Done. So that's dealing with any stock information, and also it's just changing them around. And those other two rules are to stop items being imported into the feed. So that's next. So this is now going to save our products, which is done. So go into our products in here. So you get to optimize products. We've done the wizard now through all this here, and then we're actually optimize products, which basically just show you the items. So this, quite simplistically, is our raw data here. So go to action up here and go show images. You can see the items themselves. So you've got a nice snowboard there. Right, so we've got our pricing. The SKUs are empty because we haven't got them on our test store. This is the link URL. So basically everything is here. So you've got a few options from here. We can either now manually change things if we wanted to, which I don't really like doing, but sometimes it's helpful. So if you've got an EAN, let's say for example, GTOs, EAN's empty at this one, so we don't actually have them stored in our store. So if you had an incorrect value in here, then you can actually input it. So you can put in here like that and save. And that's now going to basically create what we call an override. So that's going to have an EAN value now that you've input in. I should probably put 0 at the beginning actually. So that's our EAN value in here. That's just a phone number. And that now, when the feed runs every time, it will pull that information through, and it will basically keep it static. The only problem with that is that if you did it on price, and you set your price at, let's say, $10.99, and the feed updated and that feed actually went to $12.99, because you've created an override, which is what this pencil means here, it will always stay at whatever you override it to. So if you ever wanted to come back and undo it or remove an override, you can click that pencil and it remove it, and then that would automatically update to whatever the value is in the feed next time. So if I click that now and took that off to remove the override, when the feed runs again, that now will revert back to basically an empty value. So that is quite simplistically how we import a feed. Obviously, there's tons and tons of stuff that we can do in terms of writing rules. There's mountains of stuff, really, quite honestly. So this is just really basic stuff to get you up and running. Right, so that's now imported. So the final part of this, now we go into our master and need to schedule, which means we need to set a time when we want to import that feed. So for argument's sake, you have a store where you import from a manufacturer and that updates, for argument's sake, at 9 o'clock in the morning. Then you might want to set a schedule time for 9:30. Actually, just do it through here. 9:30 a.m. save. That now will set a schedule on the site or on the app itself, or the Onefeed Client Centre, and that schedule will now import that feed at 9:30 a.m. every single day. If you ever wanted to delete that, you can obviously click delete and you can turn it off. Right, so the next part of this now is going to a partner. So we've done our master feed, that's all there now. We're going to partner feed. We're actually going to create a partner feed, which is basically going to go into Google Merchant Centre. So first and foremost, let's create a Google feed. So these are all the different partner sites we've got feeds and things set up for. So we call it Google shopping campaigns. We used to have product listing ads and local inventory ads. So the shopping campaigns is what we use as our default now. So that's our Google feed. So we're going to call it, let's call it Onefeed test. We're going to call it a text file. Right, I'm going to export it. We're going to SFTP up to Google. FTP no longer works for Google, so you use SFTP. Right, so this is our test Merchant Centre account. So we need to add a product source. So in Google, you should already have a Merchant Centre. If not, let us know and we can create one for you through our CSS. This test account is in our CSS account. So let's just go into add our product source. So we're going to import from a product file. So we don't need a link. We're going to add using SFTP. So that's what we need to do. So we're going to call it a file name. So we're going to go back to our part. Let's just get rid of that actually now. Let's go to our setup. We're going to call it Onefeed test. That's our file name. Continue. We can do it in English. That's all good. We'll go to continue. So that's our feed set up. But we're going to update this through SFTP. So let's click on that. And so these are our settings now. So we've got the server, which is that one there. So just click it to copy it. That's our server. That's our username. Well, it says username, obviously. And then we're going to create a password. We're going to reset a password. This is an old account, which we obviously don't have anymore. So there we go. We've reset it. That's our new password. So I'm going to paste that in here. I've had problems with this before where that actual copying doesn't work. Yeah, there you go. It's done it again. So for some reason, Google, when you do the copy, it doesn't actually copy the file. Or maybe it's been masked, I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't copy it. So let's just do this manually. Click on it. Is this going to work this time? There we go. Right, so I've got our password saved there now, which is good. So that's all done. We're going to create a file, which is a text file, because the text. So if you wanted XML, we need to the extension XML and change that to XML. So this is going to be a text file. I'm going to use a tab delimiter. It's going to be tab delimited text file. We're going to add our tracking to it. Right, done. Next. So that's now set up. We can go through the process. So we automatically match up the columns from master feed to the partner feed. So pretty much everything you want is already done for you. You might want to, I don't know, you might want to change a few bits in here if you wanted to, or wanted to map something differently. But realistically, everything is done for you. There's very little need to change anything in here. We've got options in here to map up custom labels though. So I'm not going to do any of that now. That can probably come in a future videos, give you a bit more advanced tools of how you can use the system to create different custom labels. We've got an option to use performance data to actually set labels in the system as well. So I'll cover that in another video another time, but that's all good. So that's pretty much sorted. So our feed doesn't really need to go through any more setup process here. So that's all good. So we're going to go next. We can write rules if we wanted to. So if you wanted to add like a rule to change the URL to add some tracking data, for argument's sake, you can do that through here. So I'm not going to bother with that. It's importing the products now. So that's done. And so the final stage of this would be to actually set a schedule. So remember we set it at 9:30 a.m. Let's do it at 9:32. 9:32. So you want to do it after the master feed's processed. Done. Schedule is set up. What we want to do now, we're going to go into our products here and look at anything we might want to work on. The first thing we need to look at really is if you've got products that generally will have a barcode, and sometimes we'll be able to see items that are missing barcodes. We can actually go into this missing EANs over here. Obviously this doesn't have any EAN data because it's just random made up products, but in here, if you had, for example, you're selling washing machines or any appliances or electronics, they're generally going to have EANs. And because we've got a database of about 15 million products, we can use our system and our database, which is obviously what feeds into our shopping engine and our shopping website itself. We can look for EANs where you're missing the data, and then we can actually automatically add it through here. What you normally do is you get, like, for argument's sake, there'll be 20 items in here. You tick the 20 items, go to update, select the EANs, this button here, and that's going to allow you, the system to override. Remember we did that override on the EAN before, and it will add those EANs for you as overrides. So really it's quite a cool way of picking out some additional product data which is going to enrich the feed going through. So that's one cool thing we can do. So we've gone through the setup now. We've scheduled the export, we've scheduled the import. Now we've set up a master feed, so we go back to our home screen. The tracking isn't implemented yet, and that's what's showing at the moment, purely because it's a test site, so you expect to see that. These are all tracking information. So the master feed and partner feed have now been set up. If you wanted to, we can now, let me move me out of the way, we can run all feeds. So down here, this is going to run the master feed and the partner feed. And it's going to export a feed up to Google. So it's going to import the data. So let's just refresh this screen now. It should be finished. Right, so it literally just ran just now. And the feed up to Google has just ran right now. So you've got 24 active items. The 2 items we removed, going back to the data here, the missing images and the out of stock item are both gone. So we've got 26 items in our inventory. Now it's actually down to 24. So 24 items now been uploaded to Google. I'm going to do a lot more rundowns of all the other information, like things like the threats and opportunities. There's a whole bunch of performance data that we actually can populate and pass through to merchants. But that kind of concludes the setup. I think there's pretty much covers everything. But of course, you know, if you need any help or need any advice, create a ticket or just reach out to us and we'll do our best to help you. Thank you.